In this video, we're going to look at how we can have our program not just do math and print to the screen, but to actually make decisions. So what we're going to look at is conditional statements. And before we get into that, I want to just review real quick just a regular function that just takes two numbers in, and I'm going to have it return a number. So this is a function right now. This first one, I would like it to return the hypotenuse of a triangle that has side lengths A and B. So we need a square root for this, so I'm going to import math, and the hypotenuse, or we'll just call it C, it's kind of what you typically see in geometry. It's going to be, let's see, you do math.s square root, and it's going to be A squared plus B squared, and then we'll just return that. And so I've got some function calls down here, and let's test it out and make sure it works. And looks like it does. Okay, those are the correct answers for that. These are triangles I've already worked out, so I know that these are right. But let's look at a slightly different problem. All right, so let's suppose we have all three side lengths, and we want to determine if the triangle is a right triangle instead. So my function call might look like this. And we'll do one that I know is a right triangle, 6, 8, 10. Right triangle. And we'll try one that's not. And we'll do 5, 8, 12. All right, and that one's not a right triangle. And what I want is for this one, for the output to be true, and I want this one, the output to be false. So now we have to have this is right function, and we want to make it make a decision. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a conditional statement that says if A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared, right? This is how we know it is a right triangle. So I'm going to return, and in the past we've been returning numbers, but we can return true-false values as well. So I'm going to return true. True is a keyword in Python, so it has to be capitalized. You'll see, and it'll turn a color when you type it. And I'll say else, return false. And so now, right, when I pass in 6, 8, 10 to A, B, and C, it's going to evaluate this expression, and if this side is equal to this side, it'll do the return true. It'll return the value of true, and otherwise it will return the value of false. So let's run this, make sure it works. And misspelled print. So we'll run this again. And there we go. And we can test it with a bunch of different values just to confirm that it works in all cases. All right. So so now we have a function or a block of code that is not just doing arithmetic, but it is making we're making a decision. So let's make the problem a little bit more complex. And this time we'll determine if the triangle is acute, right, or obtuse. So we're still going to look at that basic inequality here. So let's see. And I'm just going to have it return the word acute, right, or obtuse. So I'm going to say if, and I can just copy this, and we'll return, and returning a word, so I'll do it in quotes. And I'll say, now, we want to do another test this time. So what I'm going to use is the keyword elif, which is just a contraction of else and if. Okay, and some languages don't have, you have to use else if, but in Python we get elif. And so we'll check again, and we'll say if A squared plus B squared, and this time if it's going to be less than C squared, And let's think about geometrically what's happening right here. This means the c squared was too big to be a right triangle. And so that means that C, the side C, must be too big when it's kind of wedged in there. So it's opening up the angle formed by sides A and B a little bit. So this must be our obtuse triangle. Okay. And then, I've got a couple options here. So I could say, and I guess, if it's less than, right? If A squared plus B squared is if c squared is too small to make a right triangle, then it must have pulled the sides A and B in a little bit, and it's going to be an acute triangle. Let's test this out and see how this works. And then I'll show you just a little simplification of this code. So we're going to go triangle type. And then let's try, actually, let's try, this will be a right triangle, and so let's make this 11, so that should open up the angle formed by A and B a little bit, so that should be an obtuse triangle, and then let's close it up, and that should be an acute triangle. And there we go, we got right, acute, and obtuse, so the output is what we think it should be. Just a little bit of a comment on this is, notice how, I tested all three conditions, and actually, once we know it's not right, and once we know it's not obtuse, it has to be acute. So there really is no need for this third test here. I can just say else, return acute, and I get the exact same results. And so this is a little bit better code. Just one more thing we can do, just, elifs, you can have as many elifs as you want, as long you just have to make sure the if goes first, and then all of your elifs are next, and your else's, and an else is last. So, let's suppose we did something like 6, 8, and 15. Now, what you may realize here is 6 plus 8 is 14, and then we have the hypotenuse of 15. And when I run my program right now, it tells me that it's an obtuse triangle, but that's actually not true. This is not a triangle at all. You can't make a triangle with 6, 8, and 15 because the two short sides need to add to the longer side. So I'm going to go back up to my triangle type, and let's add some more conditionals, another conditional branch to solve that problem. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say if A plus B is less than or equal to C, and I'll return, and we'll just say not a triangle. Then I'll make this an elif. And so the very first, an elif, and then we got two elif branches, and then finally we finished with an else. So now when I send in the numbers, the very first thing it's going to do is make sure that the two short sides added together are actually longer than the long side. And if they're not, it'll just tell us it's not a triangle, and then we'll go in and test to see if it's acute, right, or obtuse. So, all right, and so everything looks good. So hopefully after seeing this video, now you can start to write functions that use conditional statements to make decisions in what they return or what the output is. All right, and if you have any questions, let me know.